It was one of those ordinary mornings that start without a hint of what's about to unfold. The streets were just waking up, the city stretching into another busy day. On a quiet corner sat a man named James, a homeless veteran who had long grown used to blending into the background. Life had taken him through battles both on foreign soil and within his own mind. Years after returning home, he found himself drifting. No home, no steady work, and no family waiting for him. The war had ended, but for James, the fight had never stopped. He had his small routine: wake up near the old train station, check the nearby cafe for leftover food, and find a safe spot to rest his worn-out boots. People walked past him every day, most without a glance, some offering spare change and a few with a polite smile. James didn't expect much anymore. He had learned to survive on little and expect even less. But that morning, something unusual happened. A shiny black SUV pulled over near the corner. Out stepped a man in his 30s, dressed neatly but not extravagantly. He looked around as if searching for someone. His eyes landed on James. Without hesitation, he walked up, smiled warmly, and said, "Hey man, you doing okay?" James hesitated. He wasn't sure if this was pity, curiosity, or trouble. But the man's tone was different, genuine calm, not rehearsed. The man introduced himself as Ryan. He said he'd been part of a local mentorship program aimed at helping veterans get back on their feet. He told James he'd seen him a few times and wanted to offer something small to start. "How about we get you cleaned up, get some breakfast, and talk?" James didn't know why, but something in him said yes. Maybe it was the kindness in Ryan's eyes, or maybe it was just the exhaustion of saying no for too long. The two of them walked into a diner nearby. The smell of fresh coffee and pancakes filled the air. It had been months since James had sat at a real table. When the waitress came over, Ryan told her, "Give him anything he wants." James ordered cautiously at first, but Ryan insisted, "You served your country, brother. You deserve a warm meal." As they ate, Ryan listened to James's story, his time in the service, his struggles with PTSD, the jobs that didn't last, and the slow slide into homelessness. Ryan didn't interrupt or judge. He just listened. For James, that alone felt like a miracle. When breakfast was done, Ryan said something that made James freeze. "I want to help you get a fresh start. My team and I have been working with veterans, and we can get you a place to stay for a few months, some clothes, and a mentor to help you get back into work. No strings attached." James almost laughed. "Why me?" he asked. Ryan smiled and said, "Because you matter, and maybe it's time someone reminded you of that." Later that afternoon, Ryan drove James to a small but comfortable motel. Waiting, there was a team of volunteers, some veterans, some social workers, and a few mentors from Ryan's organization. They had already arranged for a shower, clean clothes, and even a haircut. When James stepped into the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror, he barely recognized the man staring back. That evening, he was taken to a community center where several veterans were gathered. They shared food, stories, and laughter. For the first time in years, James felt like he belonged somewhere. Over the next few days, things started changing faster than he could process. The mentorship team helped him apply for his veteran benefits, something he hadn't managed to do on his own. They helped him find therapy sessions for PTSD and a part-time job at a local auto shop. The shop owner, also a veteran, told him, "We take care of our own." Each day felt surreal. The world that had ignored him for so long suddenly seemed to notice him again. One morning, as he walked to the bus stop, dressed in clean clothes and holding a cup of coffee someone had bought for him, he felt a wave of emotion crash over him. Gratitude, hope, maybe even joy. But what really changed James wasn't just the roof over his head or the job, it was the mentorship. Ryan and the others didn't treat him like a charity case. They treated him like a brother, a man worth saving. They talked about discipline, setting goals, and rebuilding trust in himself. They pushed him to believe that he wasn't broken, just rebuilding. Months went by, and James stayed consistent. He showed up to work every day, learned new skills, and even started saving money. He joined group sessions to help other veterans, sharing his story and listening to theirs. His confidence grew. One afternoon, Ryan surprised him with a visit. He told James that a local business wanted to sponsor a small apartment for him for the next year as part of a veteran housing initiative. James stood speechless. "You mean my own place?" Ryan nodded. "Your own home, man. You earned it." The day he moved in, he stood in the doorway, staring at the small but cozy apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was his. A kitchen, a bed, and a view of the city that had once felt so cold. He placed his old army photo on the shelf and whispered, "We made it." But the story didn't end there. James began volunteering at the same program that had helped him. He became a mentor himself, helping other homeless veterans find their footing. He understood their pain because he had lived it. He told them, "You can't change your past, but you can rebuild your tomorrow." Over time, James's story spread online. People were inspired by his transformation. Local news stations covered the story of the homeless veteran who got a random upgrade. But James always said the real heroes were the mentors who stepped in when no one else did. In an interview, he said, "It wasn't about money or charity. It was about someone believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself." Ryan's mentorship program began receiving more support after that. Donations came in, volunteers signed up, and more veterans got their second chance. The ripple effect of kindness kept growing. One man helped another, who helped another, and soon a community began to heal. James continued working at the auto shop, eventually becoming a supervisor. On weekends, he helped with outreach drives, meeting veterans living on the streets and telling them his story. Every time he saw a face filled with hopelessness, he'd say, "I've been where you are. It can get better." Years later, when asked what he thought was the real turning point, James said softly, "It was that one moment, a stranger stopping his car, offering a meal and saying, 'You matter.' That one act changed everything." His words became the heart of a local campaign encouraging people to reach out to veterans in need. Billboards appeared around the city saying, "One act of kindness can change a life." And for those who knew James's story, they knew exactly what that meant. Life wasn't perfect for James. There were still tough days, memories that haunted him, but he no longer faced them alone. He had his brothers, his mentors, and a purpose. The man who once had nothing now had everything that truly mattered: hope, belonging, and the power to help others rise. And somewhere on that same corner where his story began, another veteran sat alone, until a car pulled over and a stranger stepped out with the same words Ryan once said, "Hey man, you doing okay?" It's moments like these that remind us that one person's kindness can ignite a chain reaction of change. A random upgrade became a rebirth of hope, and mentors turned a broken life into a story of strength, compassion, and redemption. Because when humanity steps in, miracles follow, and sometimes all it takes is one person who refuses to walk past.